This is going to make your stomach churn. But I just read an article about a commercial real estate firm that was managing a portfolio of leases for a restaurant group. And what they found after running those leases through an abstraction software, meaning they pulled out all the data, they found over $1 million in escalation clauses that they were not aware of previously. Now, that's not a rumor. It's not like a warning to scare you, but just want you to understand that that's real money slipping through the cracks, slipping through your fingers, simply because the leases were not reviewed properly. And if you're a franchisor or a franchisee or independent restaurant operator signing leases without reviewing them line by line, what the hell are you doing? Because you might be next. So in today's episode, we're going to talk about the $1 million mistake hiding in your lease, how to catch it, and then kill it before you sign, and it destroys your entire business. Let's get into it. All right, guys, can we be real here for a second? Fire oil. Really the messiest, most dangerous part of running a kitchen. Burns, spills, slip and falls. It is just a liability waiting to happen. That's why smart operators are switching to Restaurant Technologies and their total oil management system. Fully automated, delivers fresh oil, filters it, monitors it, and picks up the used stuff when you're done. Just a cleaner, safer kitchen with way less chaos. That's the best part. There's no upfront cost. So if you're looking to protect your team, streamline your back of the house, and actually improve your bottom line, head to rtiinc.com. Email customer care at rtiinc.com. That's rtiinc.com. Control the kitchen chaos. Make the switch to Restaurant Technologies. What's up, everyone? Welcome back to Close Monday, the show that helps restaurant owners and franchisors scale smarter with real estate operations and a little bit of technology. A little bit. Okay. But today we're diving into something that's really not that sexy. And quite frankly, probably something that makes you guys just kind of shut off. And that's leases. And that idea of thinking that they're somebody else's responsibility is not sexy, but it is expensive if you don't know what's going on. So leases, specifically the stuff buried inside our leases, or specifically the stuff that's buried inside them. So leases, specifically the stuff that's buried inside them that most of you don't see. At least you don't see it until it's too late. AI is now helping you and helping everyone understand these landmines before they blow up your P&L. Because let's face it, you're not going to be able to get out of it. You signed it. You were there. You should have known better, etc. Can't blame your lawyer. Can't blame your broker. It's on you. So let's start with one very simple truth. Most of you are not reading these leases. You're not. In my career, I know a handful of guys who say they read their leases. I don't even know if that's true. Most of you skim it, or most likely, worst case scenario, is you think your broker's going to catch everything or your lawyer's going to catch everything. But leases aren't just rent and square footage. There is a ton of fine print. And if you don't know it, it could destroy you when you least expect it. And one of the biggest killers of leases are the escalations. No one talks about it. You never hear somebody say, oh, you know what killed me? This year was my lease escalation. Year over year, I wasn't paying attention. You hear it all the time when guys say, hey, landlord wants to up my rent. Maybe they're misusing that. I'm not, maybe that could be the case. Landlord can't just up your rent. You already agreed to it. Unless you're on some weird month-to-month deal, in which case, what the hell are you doing? Okay. You need a document that you understand, that you know, that you can go back to and rely on that information that's in there, for better or for worse. When you sign it, you agreed to it, period. So you can't go back to the lawyer, can't go back to the landlord, can't go back to the broker and say, hey, I didn't mean to sign this. I didn't know it was in there. That's why they give it to you. The freaking process takes months. How much time do you need to read it? But what usually happens is you sign a 10-year deal, $50 a foot, it's market, below market, but then buried in the lease, buried in there, there's this language that says rent increases are 3% a year. That means every year your rent is going up 3%, right? Some might be tied to the CPI, some might be more than that, in which case you should really smack your broker around a little bit. But that 3% compounds. So just like it does in your bank, right? Interest, 3% is compounding year over year. By year 10, you're not paying $50 a square foot. You're paying $65 a square foot. And if you didn't plan for that, right? You didn't plan on your rent going up, then your profit is just shrinking year over year over year. So back to what I said in the beginning, there was a commercial real estate firm that was managing all these leases. They then went and used some technology and they used some lease abstraction software, AI powered, by the way, to analyze their portfolio. And what they find? They found $1 million in missed escalation clauses across just a handful of those leases. Not all of them, a handful of them. That's money that could have been put elsewhere. Could have paid vendors, could have paid staff, could have upgraded the facility, but they weren't. It was just paid to the landlord. Now, if you flip that and you're the tenant, that's money you're being charged that you weren't planning on. You had no idea. That's a 3% cut to your profit margins, and you didn't even know it was coming. How crazy does that sound? So the brand that made this mistake, I'm not going to say who they are. They're not rookies. They're smart operators. But when you're signing 10, 15, 20 leases a year, that's easy stuff to miss. And by the way, landlords, you think they're going to remind you? No. A good lawyer might say something to you like, hey, that seems high. A broker is going to say, oh, well, you agreed to it in the LOI? Look, you know what I always say, go back and do your homework. It's on you, okay? It's not on them. Know what market increases are year over year. And here's a little pro tip on these increases. Landlords might want to tie to the CPI, right? Put a cap on it. You don't know if the CPI is going to be 3.5 or 10.5. Put a cap on it. So you know I love technology. I love AI. What does AI have to do with any of this? Well, there are now platforms like Occupier, shout out to Occupier and the team over there, Lease, Profia, and they all use natural language processing to read and extract key terms from commercial leases. Think of it like this. Instead of you or a paralegal spending hours reviewing every single clause and every single word, quite frankly, in every lease, this software is going to scan all those lines in seconds, and it's going to bring those red flags to the forefront for you to question. Now, that's something you're really going to want to hold on to. It's going to catch escalation clauses, renewal terms, renewal dates, CAM pass-throughs, hidden caps, use restrictions, and it lets you know exactly what you're agreeing to before it's too late. Now, why does this matter? Why does this matter if you're trying to grow a franchise brand? Isn't it just on the franchisee? They got to deal with it immediately. No, that doesn't work because you're the franchisor. You're just the sum of all these franchisees. So it matters. I've spoken about it before. You know, if you're trying to sell this brand at some point, that really matters. Those leases have some sort of value or they have no value. When you're opening location 2, 5, 12, 15, your real estate strategy has to be tight. Said that time and time again. And just a few bad leases, they're going to eat your unit level margins and make your entire model look worse to future franchisees or investors. So you think you're growing, opening up units, signing leases, but your stores are bleeding just because somebody made a bad deal on paper that you didn't catch. AI tools are helping landlords, private equity shops optimize their portfolio. So why aren't you doing the same as a tenant? If you even have just a base understanding of ChatGPT, you can do this in ChatGPT. You can even put in there to check for very specific things that may relate to your concept or relate to your property. If you are serious about growing, I suggest you get on this custom GPT and have those leases reviewed. I actually have created a lease review GPT for myself. I may share that with you guys at some point down the line. It's probably a good idea. But I have it tailored just for me, so I got to figure that out. But in the meantime, work on one yourself. I guarantee you can get that information on your own very easily. This is the very low-hanging fruit because now you know which units you have to target for increased marketing. You know, you're providing ongoing support to these franchisees. If they signed a bad lease, they need some help. They are your danger zone franchisees. I've seen it happen. I have seen this in real life. A brand that was growing, we talk about small footprints, more affordable occupancy rates. They started growing. They started putting that in place. But you know what's holding them down? All these old leases, all these pre-COVID leases signed at rents that are astronomical, and now they can't get out of them. And there's no amount of marketing that's going to fix it. So what do? They close. And what is that? Hit to your brand, hit to your bottom line, and eventually it's going to dry up your pipeline because people are going to hear that you have no help with your real estate. You're letting franchisees sign bad deals. That's a whole other podcast, but that's the reality. It's going to kill. It is absolutely going to kill your brand. So just use ChatGPT for what it's worth. Okay. Stop having it just review your emails. So the good news is you don't need to become an expert on leasing. AI is going to help you, but you do need a system. You need a system to review every lease before your franchisee sign it. Maybe that's a service you can provide. I'll tell you right now, what I recommend, Occupier. And like I said, a custom GPT to scan for this stuff and compare your lease to your budget. You have a budget, right? You got a budget? Check your budget to see what your rent looks like. If you didn't do a budget, do one now. Do one now because those rent increases are coming in 6 months, let's just say. What are you going to do? To break your P&L. Then what do? If you have to, bring in somebody who just lives in these leases. Attorney that you worked with, even just for an hour, just to red flag some things. At least you know. If you don't feel comfortable with the AI stuff, have them do that. But I'm not giving you legal advice, okay? I want to be clear. I'm just telling you to do your homework. Again, ChatGPT can pull it to the forefront. If not, bring in somebody to do it retroactively. I don't care if you're 5 years into your lease, 6 years or 6 months into your lease. If you feel uncomfortable with understanding what's going on in there, get somebody to help you out. Now, where I can help. Go for two things. One is sort of like a light version where you send me the lease, I'll run through it, I'll have my AI take a look at it, and I'll give you a point of view on what's worth pushing back on. This is kind of while you're negotiating it, right? You're serious about the space, but you have a couple of questions, you're not exactly getting the answers you want. I'll provide that opinion for you. The second option I have is sort of a pre-signing site strategy. So I'll take a look at the LOI. I'll look at the location, I'll look at the deal terms, I'll look at the broader market to see what's going on out there, see if I can get you some comps, and I'll make sure that it's not just available, but it's actually a viable site for you. Now, there'll be a link in the show notes if you guys want to have option one or option two. Totally up to you. Depends on where you are at in the process. And third-party opinion can't hurt. And this could literally save you 6 figures in the life of your lease. So totally worth it, in my opinion. I think each one is about, I think it's $100 and $149 for each one. Completely worth it, guys. It's going to take 24 hours to get that back. And now you have some real information. Say, hey, I spoke to this dude who has a podcast and does commercial real estate for restaurants, and he caught all these things. Help me understand what's going on here. So it could be a huge tool for you guys. All right, that is it for today's episode. I get it. Leases are not exciting, but they are extremely expensive. And you don't want to make a mistake that's going to bury the brand you worked so hard to build. AI is giving us tools to get smarter and faster without needing a law degree. So you can get caught with $1 million mistake buried on page 17. Guys, if this episode helped you at all, I'm begging you, share it with somebody who's about to sign a lease. All right, I'm Kyle and Sarah. This is Close Monday, and let's get out there and scale smarter.